I went from 0 to 63,000 in investments 2.5 years after graduating. So how did this happen? I want to just get into my story and how I achieved this, along with some step-by-step actions that for some reason nobody mentions online.
Wait till they hand you the bill for not trying.
8 million.
I took out a loan of 1 bazillion%.
Also, a lot of people say,
Why don't you get a mortgage? Why?
in my last year of uni, like most uni students, all I could think about was how I didn't want to work a 9 to 5. I tried numerous side hustles at the time. I say side hustles, I was probably working on them more than I was actual uni. But I was growing Instagram accounts and YouTube accounts, and they did okay. They reached about 10,000 followers, but all they really did was distract me. I quickly realized 9 to 5 would soon become my reality, and it did. I graduated and moved back in with my parents. I took engineering at university, and I managed to get an entry-level job near my parents. I remember thinking, I've got so much responsibility now. But looking back, it's funny because realistically, I just went to work, came home, and everything was sorted for me. I received my first paycheck, and although it was small and below average, I wasn't really concerned about that because this was more money than I'd ever received in 1 month. For me, this was a big deal. But to be honest with you, I didn't really know what to do with this money. I knew that it was good to save up to maybe buy a house, but I had no direction with this money. Until I came across a great book that I highly recommend to everyone watching called The Psychology of Money. In The Psychology of Money, I was taught about the compounding effect. Essentially, every year the stock market return is around 10%. Whilst 10% sounds very little, given time it snowballs into huge amounts of money. An example of the compounding effect would be Ronald Read. Ronald Read was just an unassuming janitor from Vermont in the USA, and he lived a life of simplicity. Every year, he would invest a certain small portion of his small wage, but behind his unremarkable exterior lay a secret fortune that would only be discovered after he died in 2014. He left behind $8 million. All he had done is bought a diversified 95 stocks in many industries and let them grow over time. With this knowledge, I thought, all right then, I'm going to start investing. And what I thought at the time was, if I start now, I'm so young that I will have the advantage of time. The earlier you start, the more time in the market you have, the larger your money pot grows. Now, for some reason, if you tell your friends or relatives about investing or stocks and shares, they all seem to tell you it's risky. I've heard about people losing loads. They only remember people losing money. And to me, that really struck a chord. I had seen throughout my life that no one was willing to take the risks involved in making any large amount of money, and I really wanted to change that. And I think that there's no way you're going to generate large sums of money without taking any risk.
It's called the language of the poor. What if this happens? And on top of that, if this was to happen, look at the fix I'd be in. I better not try. Then I'll tell you what changed my whole life when I finally discovered it's all risky. The minute you were born, it got risky. If you think trying is risky, wait till they hand you the bill for not trying. If you think investing is risky, wait till you get the tab for not investing. See, it's all risky. Getting married is risky. Having children is risky. Going into business is risky. Investing your money is risky. It's all risky. I'll tell you how risky life is. You're not going to get out alive.
Now, straight after I graduated, my first job was giving me about £1,600 a month after tax. I'd pay my parents around $200 for rent. I'd spend about $170 on fuel, and then I would buy about £800 worth of the S&P 500 ETF, which is essentially it's a bundle of the top 500 stocks in the USA. Obviously, this can go up and down in value, but like I said before, average is 10% year over year. This left me with about £430 a month to spend on whatever I wanted, and most of it went on
A drink down a pub with the geezers.
Anyway, here are some step-by-step actions that I took that you should also take to grow your investment account as quickly as possible. First thing, as we established, is open an investment account. I do this immediately, straight after this video. You can start them with as little as like £1 now. So you might as well make it. Now the second step / action I've called debt can be good. Now why have I called it that? I'll explain. So when I first invested, I went big straight away. I put about £5,000 in straight off the bat. Now you're probably saying,
Oi, Alex, you snake. You said you started at 0.
and I did start at 0. Believe it or not, debt can actually be a good thing. Now please don't misinterpret this and say,
I took out a loan of 1 bazillion% interest and now I'm screwed. Thanks, Alex, you fake guru. Oh my god.
one benefit about being a graduate is the student / graduate bank accounts that come with it. My bank account offered me a 0% interest, £3,250 overdraft. So to me, I saw the opportunity to invest the full extent of the overdraft that my bank was offering me and potentially make 10% per year on the money that was lent for me for free. Of course, you will have to repay this 3,250. So make sure you know when you need to pay that back. So essentially all this allows you, it doesn't give you £3,250 for free. What it does give you though is more time in the market, which is really key to get that snowball effect and compounding effect to grow your investments quicker. I hope that you guys understand this. If you don't understand this, please do not go digging yourself into debt. Now, I'm just going to disclaim to you guys that the stock market is never constant. It can go up and down. It can be volatile. And that means that some years you might actually lose money. And this was exactly what happened in my first year. My first year of investing, I actually lost about £500, I think. Yeah, £500. Now, this conveniently leads me on to my next tip, which is invest regularly and make sure to pay yourself first. Now, this is something that I learned from Rich Dad Poor Dad, which is another book that you can get from the description if you want. But essentially, as soon as I got my paycheck, the first thing that I'd do is pay all my obligatory expenses. So that would be my rent to my mum and dad, my insurance for my car, and then I would immediately purchase my £800 of S&P 500. I'd immediately put my money into the market, and I wasn't discouraged by the fact that in my first year the market was going down. In fact, all the endless hours of YouTube content and reading up on various investment strategy had given me a great tip that was be greedy when other people are fearful and be fearful when other people are greedy. So for me, the market was going down and I was just buying more. I was buying more every month, and what this did was it helped to decrease the price of my investments. So therefore, when the market went back up, it gave me a much larger return on investment. Now at this point, I had completely forgotten about materialism. I honestly wasn't thinking about the next clothes purchase I could make, or what kind of exciting car can I buy, what can I show off to my friends. In fact, I actually began to resent those ideas. At this point, I could just see my account, my investment account, and I'd look at it too often, to be honest. I'd look at it like every day, and I was watching it go up and I was watching myself slowly move into the positive, and this just gives you such a heartwarming feeling, and to be honest, quite an addicting feeling. I would say that I'm addicted to investing. It's just so addictive. You see the green dollar signs, and the fact that you know that you made that decision and that you've created that wealth is just such a good feeling, and you can't beat it with shopping essentially and materialism. It just doesn't work. So my tip is become addicted and just thrive under the addiction, because it's a great addiction. So for me at this stage, all I felt, because I was so addicted to it, all I felt was that I wanted more. I wanted to make more. I wanted to see more green pound signs, green dollar signs on my investing apps. And the quickest way to do this, I realized, was to invest more. How would I invest more? Well, I need to get pay rises. I need to make more money. So what I did is I really put some hard effort into my work. I know my work colleagues would be laughing at me right now. But I really knuckled down. I managed to get myself into a leadership role, and yeah, the pay rises came. As a graduate, the pay rises will come thick and fast if you just knuckle down. I kept my living expenses the same, still living with my parents, but I was making a lot more money now, and I was managing to put away about £1,500. Now, it was around this time that my investments really began to take off. Now, you might have noticed that I actually started investing in individual stocks. Now, why did I do that? The thing is, all the YouTube gurus, they tell you,
Just invest in the market. Don't invest in individual stocks.
or the average retail investor doesn't make as much money as the market. But for me, not only was it fun to analyze companies and it kept me addicted to investing, but I realized that it was the average retail investor that failed. Now, I'm not trying to be average. People can do it and people have done it.
Oh my god, is he out there again? Hey, didn't I tell you yesterday I was calling the cops?
Yesterday, you said tomorrow. So just do it!
Now, you have to realize that investing in individual stocks is far riskier than investing in an ETF, the S&P 500 in the overall market. Money comes and goes. And for me, as a young person, I believed that increasing my risk would increase the amount of gains I can get at a young age. And investing in individual stocks is what has given me such a large return so quickly. I'd like to say, as a beginner, you should definitely just invest in an ETF. An ETF is a bundle of stocks that, when you buy into this bundle of stocks, you own a very minute amount of each company within that ETF. You have to remember, when you're buying a share of a company, you are genuinely an owner of that company. You don't just, people seem to just think that owning a share and being an owner is different. I say this to people and people go,
Oh yeah, but you don't look off. You don't have a say in what that company does.
it's like, yeah, but do I want to? Not really. I need to keep up with what they're doing, but I don't have to run it. It's pretty hands off. And that's a great thing. Also, a lot of people say,
Why don't you get a mortgage? Why?
because a mortgage for me is not what I want at a young age. It will trap me in one location. Let's say I move away from the area that I buy a house. Either I'll have to sell it and be heavily taxed and just have to deal with all that malarkey, or I'd have to get somebody to look after the house. I'd have to find tenants. I'd have to deal with all that. Instead, I can just own part of the most successful companies in the world from my phone and go anywhere I want. I can't express how much of an opportunity this is to everyone that has a phone. Like, it's such a nice feeling to know that right now I could be out of a job for 2 years and be completely fine, probably even 3 years, and be completely fine. Now, you guys are probably thinking, you can't have just put away £800 per month and ended up with 63,000 by the end of 2.5 years. And you're totally right. On average, I've invested around £1,300 per month over the 2.5 years. In total, I've invested about £40,000 and I made about £23,000 worth of gains. Here's a list of all the stocks that I own, all of the ETFs I own as well. You should have a look into these companies if you're thinking about investing in individual companies. I've really enjoyed making this video for you guys today. Start investing.
Then I'll tell you what changed my whole life when I finally discovered it's all risk. The minute you were born, it got risk. If you think trying is risk, wait till they hand you the bill for not risk. If you think investing is risk, see, it's all risk. Getting married is risk. Having children is risk. Going into business is risk. Investing your money is risk. It's all risk. You're not going to get out alive. Yeah.